Math, Lesson 114. Open your workbook to Lesson 114 and find Part 1. You're going to figure out which fraction is more and complete the statement. To do that, you change the fraction that has the smaller denominator. Problem A. The fractions read 30/20, 7/5. Which fraction will you change? The smaller fraction that you will change is 7/5. What denominator will you have in the new fraction? Your new denominator for the fraction you're replacing 7/5 with will be 20. Now, figure out how many 20ths 7/5 is. Then, write the sign to complete the original statement. Pause the video now to work the problem. Here's the answer to problem A. Problem B. Read the fractions. The fractions in problem B are 3/7 and 5/14. Change one of the fractions so it has the same denominator as the other fraction. Then complete the original statement. Pause the video now to work the problem. The fraction you change is 3/7. It's the smaller fraction. You change 3/7 to 6/14. The denominator that you change it to has to match the other one. You changed it to 14ths because the other fraction you have is 5/14. So, which is more, 3/7 or 5/14? The answer is 3/7. 3/7 is larger. Problem C. The fractions are 8/3 and 42/15. Change the smaller fraction so it has the same denominator as the other fraction. Then complete the original statement. Pause the video now to work the problem. The fraction you should have changed, the smaller one, is 8/3. You change 8/3 to have a denominator matching 42/15. 8/3 gets changed into 40/15. So, which is more, 8/3 or 42/15? 42/15 is the larger fraction. Now, please find part 2 in your workbook. Problem A says 6/10 plus 4/10. Read that out loud now. 6/10 plus 4/10. Write the answer to the decimal problem. Then make the diagram showing the two values, 6/10 plus 4/10. Here's what you should have. Here is 6/10. Here is 4/10. There's 10 cubes in each of these because we're talking about tenths. This one has 6 shaded in because it's 6/10. This one has 4 shaded in because it's 4/10. 6/10 plus 4/10 equals 1. The answer to the decimal problem is 10/10. That's 1 and 0/10. Now, move tenths from the bottom row to show the answer. Cross out the tenths you move in the bottom row. So you cross these out and then you shade them in up here. Problem B reads 7/10 plus 5/10. Read the problem aloud now. 7/10 plus 5/10. Write the answer to the decimal problem, then show the two values shaded in the diagram. In the first bar, you should shade in 7 for 7/10. In the second bar, you should shade in 5 for 5/10. Just like so. 7/10 plus 5/10 equals 1 2/10, or 7/10 plus 5/10 equals 12/10, which is 1 2/10. Cross out this. Cross out the 3 you need here to put up here to show your work. Now you have 1 2/10. You moved 3/10 up here to fill it in. Now, open your textbook to lesson 114 and find part 1. These are problems that compare two things. Problem A, the amount they spent on dinner was 7/4 the amount they spent on breakfast. They spent $56 on dinner. How much did they spend on breakfast? Write the letter equation for the sentence that compares dinner and breakfast. Then work the problem. The equation you should start with is D for dinner equals 7/4 B. B represents breakfast. D equals 7/4 B. You replaced D with 56. You multiplied both sides by 4/7. So you should find out that they spent $32 on breakfast. D equals 7/4 B. You replace D with 56. You multiply both sides by 4/7, the reciprocal of 7/4, getting B all by itself. Over here, you cross out these to reduce them, giving you 32 equals B, $32. Oops. Problem B, there are 36 students in the library. The number of students in the computer room is 3/4 the number of students in the library. How many students are in the computer room? The equation you should start with is C equals 3/4 L. Pause the video now to work the problem. Resume when you're ready to check your work. C equals 3/4 L. You plug in 36 for L. You reduce 36 and 4. Then you multiply straight across. 3 times 9 equals 27. So C equals 27, 27 students. Problem C. The boat weighed 3/7 as much as the truck. The truck weighed 14 tons. How much did the boat weigh? The equation you should start with is B equals 3/7 T. Pause the video now to work the problem. Resume when you're ready to check your work. You should replace 14 for t, reduce 14 and 7. They can be divided by 7, giving you 2, and replace a 14. 3 times 2 is 6. B equals 6 tons. Problem D. Blue Lake has 480 fish. Blue Lake has 1/5 as many fish as Cloud Lake. How many fish are in Cloud Lake? The equation you should start with is B equals 1/5 C. Pause the video now to work the problem. You should replace 480 with B to set up the problem, and here's how you do it. You multiply this side by the reciprocal of 1/5, 5/1. You also have to do it over here. Then you multiply straight across. 5 times 480 equals 2,400, which equals C. So you know 2,400 fish. All right, let's move on to line plots. Find part 2 in your textbook. From now on, the only letter shown on the line plot will be X. You have to read the problem to figure out what the X's stand for. Problem A. The line plot shows the number of hours people spent sleeping. Do the numbers show hours or people? The numbers show hours. What do the X's stand for? The X's stand for people. Problem B. The line plot shows the length of boards in feet. What do the numbers show? The numbers show feet. What do the X's stand for? Each X stands for a board. Work problem A. Find the average number of hours each person slept. Pause the video now to do the work. Resume when you're ready to check. Let's check your work. What's the total number of hours? The total number of hours is 50. What did you divide by? You divided by 7. What's the average number of hours these people slept? The average number of hours these people slept is 7 1/7 hours. Problem B. You'll find the average length of the boards. For 6/4, you'll add 4 fractions. 6/4 plus 6/4 plus 6/4 plus 6/4. Repeat what you add for 6/4. Again, it's 6/4 plus 6/4 plus 6/4 plus 6/4. Say what you'll add for 8/4 now. For 8/4, you'll add together 8/4 plus 8/4 plus 8/4. Add the totals for all the columns. The total for all the columns is 70/4. Now you'll find the average. You're going to divide by 10. Do the division and write the averages as a fraction. Pause the video now to do the work. Resume when you're ready to check. So, what's the average length of the boards? The average length of the boards is 7/4 feet. Now look at line plot B. How many boards are above the average length? 4 boards are above the average length. How many boards are below the average length? There are 5 boards below the average length. Now, let's move on to some division word problems. Last time you wrote equations for division problems. You wrote them as fractions. You divide 3 units into 4 equal parts. Again, this says you divide 3 units into 4 equal parts. Say the problem for dividing 3 units into 4 parts. The problem for dividing 3 units into 4 parts is 3 divided by 4. What's the fraction for 3 divided by 4? The fraction for 3 divided by 4 is 3/4. Right here. This is saying this, which also means this. Yes, each part is 3/4 of a unit. Here's a number line that shows 3 units divided into 4 parts. 1 unit, 2 unit, 3 unit, divided into 4 parts. You can see that by the color orange, purple, green, and blue. You can also see that each part is 3/4 of a unit. Read this out loud. You divide 10 units into 11 equal parts. Again, you divide 10 units into 11 equal parts. Say the division problem. 10 divided by 11. Now say the fraction for 10 divided by 11. 10/11. Here's the equation. Read this with me. You divide 10 units into 2 equal parts. Again, you divide 10 units into 2 equal parts. The division problem, 10 divided by 2. Again, what's the division problem? 10 divided by 2. Now say the fraction it equals. 10/2. The fraction 10 divided by 2 equals is 10/2. Is 10/2 more than 1 or less than 1? 10/2 is more than 1. It's a top-heavy fraction. Does it equal a mixed number or a whole number? It equals a whole number. 10/2, or 10 divided by 2, equals 5. Now, find part 3 in your workbook for some practice. You'll write the equation for each problem. If the fraction is more than 1, you'll show it as a mixed number or a whole number. Problem A, you divide 5 into 6 equal parts. Write the equation. Everybody, what's the equation? 5 divided by 6. And what fraction does 5 divided by 6 equal? 5/6. Here's what you should have. Problem B, you divide 7 into 6 equal parts. Write the equation and the fraction. The equation you should have written, 7 divided by 6. And the fraction it equals, 7/6. And moving it even further, what does 7/6 equal as a mixed number? 1 and 1/6. Here's what you should have. Problem C, you divide 6 into 2 equal parts. Write out the equation, the fraction, and the whole number it equals. When it says you divide 6 into 2 equal parts, that means 6 divided by 2. The fraction, 6 halves. And what does 6 divided by 2 equal? 3. Here's what you should have. Problem D, you divide 12 into 5 equal parts. 12 divided by 5 is a mixed number. Pause the video now to work the problem. When it says you divide 12 into 5 equal parts, that means 12 divided by 5. The fraction would be 12/5. 12/5 is also a mixed number. Pause the video now to figure out what mixed number it equals. The answer to problem D, 2 2/5. Problem E, you divide 12 into 3 equal parts. Pause the video now to write the equation, the fraction, and the whole number it equals. When it says you divide 12 into 3 equal parts, that means 12 divided by 3. The fraction would be 12/3. And what does 12 divided by 3 equal? 4. Problem F, you divide 12 into 17 equal parts. 12 divided by 17 is a fraction. Here's what you should have. It can't be anything else. It's not a top-heavy fraction, so it can't be a mixed number, and it doesn't divide into each other. So it is what it is. All right, let's move on to some mental math. A person took 30 trials at pulling cards from a bag. These are the results. We don't know the number of objects in the bag, but we can use the results to answer some probability questions. How many trials did the person take? The person took 30 trials. It says it right here at the bottom. The total number of rounds or trials is 30. How many trials did the person pull out a red card? 8. How many trials did the person pull out a blue card? 12. How many trials did the person pull out a yellow card? 10. If the person took twice as many trials, would you expect the person to pull out 8 cards or more than 8 cards? So if they did twice as many trials, so if they took 60 trials, would you expect them to pull out 8 or more than 8? You'd expect them to take out more than 8. If they took twice as many trials, you would expect the person to pull out twice as many red cards. What is 8 times 2 then? Twice as many. 8 plus 8, 16. How many blue cards would you expect the person to pull out if they took twice as many trials? 12 plus 12, or 12 times 2, you'd expect them to take out 24 blue cards. How many yellow cards would you expect the person to pull out? Right now we're at 10, so twice as many is 10 plus 10, or 10 times 2, 20. You'd expect them to pull out 20 yellow cards. Listen, the person took 30 trials. If the person took 3 times as many trials, how many trials would the person take? 30 times 3 is 90. 3 times as many trials would be 90 trials. On how many of those trials would you expect the person to pull a red card? 8 times 3, or 8 plus 8 plus 8? 24. 24 red cards. 3 times as many trials. How many blue cards would they get? 12 times 3, or 12 plus 12 plus 12? You'd expect them to get 36 blue cards. And how many yellow cards would you expect them to get if they had 3 times as many trials? 10 plus 10 plus 10, or 10 times 3? 30 yellow cards. New problem. A person takes 20 trials. Right here, 20 trials, 20 total trials at pulling cards from a bag. Here are the results. 10 green cards, 3 white cards, 7 blue cards. If you took 4 times as many trials, how many trials would that take? What's 20 times 4? So 4 times as many trials, so that'd be 20 times 4, 80. 80 trials. On how many of those trials would you expect to pull out a green card? 10 times 4, because it's 4 times as many trials. So 10 times 4, 10 plus 10 plus 10 plus 10, 40 green cards. How many white cards would you expect them to pull out? 3 times 4, or 3 plus 3 plus 3 plus 3, 12 white cards. And 4 times as many blue cards, 7 times 4, or 7 plus 7 plus 7 plus 7, you'd expect 28 blue cards. Here are the expected numbers. Now listen, another person takes 5 times as many trials. How many trials would the person take? So that's asking us 5 times as many trials. This one says 20. What's 5 times 20 equal? 100. Copy the column for 100 trials in part A. Write the number of trials you would expect the person to draw a green card. 10 times 5 for green, 50 green cards. Now, write the number of trials you'd expect the person to draw a white card and the number of trials you'd expect the person to draw a blue card. Pause the video now to do the work. Here is what you should have. 5 times as many of 3 is 15, because 3 times 5 is 15. 5 times as many from 7 is 35, because 7 times 5 is 35. Great job. Now, let's find part 4 in your textbook. To work these problems, you change mixed numbers into fractions. Again, this is part 4 in your textbook. To work these problems, you change mixed numbers into fractions. Problem A. The otter in the zoo ate 8 2/5 pounds of fish. The dolphin ate 2 1/2 times as much fish. How many pounds of fish did the dolphin eat? Change each mixed number into a fraction and work the problem. Show the answer as a mixed number or a whole number and a unit name. Pause the video now to do the work. Resume when you're ready to check. So, how many pounds of fish did the dolphin eat? The dolphin ate 21 pounds of fish. Here's what you should have. 8 2/5 times 2 1/2. Like that said, turn it into a top-heavy fraction. 5 times 8 is 40, plus 2 is 42. Here's our new top-heavy fraction we turned it into. 2 times 2 is 4, plus 1 is 5, giving us 5 halves. Then we can cross these out diagonally. Both of these can be divided by 2. 42 divided by 2 is 21. The 1 would go down here, but we don't need to. 5 can be divided by 5, but nothing here, because that would be 1. Put the 1 up here, because the numbers always go on the bigger number up top. So 21 times 1, 21 pounds. Problem B. Sally picked 1 2/3 baskets of grapes yesterday. She picked 3 1/5 times more baskets today. How many baskets of grapes did she pick today? Pause the video now to work the problem. Remember to change the mixed numbers into top-heavy fractions. So, how many baskets of grapes did she pick today? She picked 5 1/3 baskets. Here's what you should have. First, convert these into top-heavy fractions. 3 times 1 is 3, plus 2 is 5. 5/3. The denominator stays the same. 5 times 3 is 15, plus 1 is 16. 16/5. Again, denominator stays the same. You can cross these two out because they can be divided into each other. 1, 5 divided by 5 is 1. That can go there. Then you multiply straight across. 1 times 16 is 16. 3 times 1 is 3. Now we want to convert this top-heavy fraction back into a mixed number. 16 divided by 3 equals 5 1/3 baskets. Great work on this today. Now you may begin your independent work. Your independent work today is textbook parts 5 through 13. Reach out to me on Teams if you need help. I'm happy to help you through anything that you need help with. Reach out to me, please. Otherwise, get busy.